Welcome back to the Cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, while Bitcoin is still playing out this short-term bearish divergence, the Bitcoin liquidation heat map is revealing where prices might be heading next, and on top of that, Ethereum is now flashing a new signal that we need to pay attention to, and also in a matter of hours from now, the Federal Reserve will make its decision on interest rates, which could heavily affect the market in the short term. So I'll be talking about that in just a moment, so definitely stick around. First of all, in case you missed it, just yesterday, the new CPI inflation numbers came in exactly as expected at 3.1% year-over-year inflation. And once again, if you want to get real-time updates as soon as this new information comes out, make sure to follow me over on my Twitter, link down below in the description and in the pinned comment. But basically, due to the fact that inflation came in as expected at that 3.1% expectation, once again, as I explained in my last video, that was the neutral outcome. If we hit expectations, of course, we were not due to see anything crazy in the market, which is what we saw over the last one day. Once again, we saw the neutral outcome for these inflation numbers, and as a result, we didn't really see any major move in the market. And that doesn't just go for the crypto market. Of course, the same thing can be said for the futures market when you're talking about the probabilities for today's Fed meeting or FOMC meeting. Because once again, as I explained in my last video, if we saw some crazy inflation numbers well below or well above expectations, of course, the reason why that could affect markets in the short term is due to the probabilities for today's Fed meeting. But because we saw that neutral outcome in inflation, of course, the probabilities have not really changed over the last one day. So right now, there's still around a 98% chance of no change in interest rates today, and roughly around a 2% chance of a 25 basis point hike, which means raising interest rates by 0.25%. And so basically, this zero rate hike or rate cut scenario today is what the majority in the market is pricing in, which means if we end up seeing that happening, if we see the Fed keep interest rates where they are right now, then once again, that should be relatively neutral for the market because almost the entire market is basically already expecting that and pricing that in. But for some reason, if we somehow see anything other than zero rate hike or rate cut, so for example, if we do end up seeing that 25 basis point rate hike, or if we somehow see a 25 basis point rate cut, obviously in either of those scenarios where we actually see a change in interest rates today, that could be very volatile for the markets. And basically, all you need to know is higher interest rates should be bearish for the market, and lower interest rates are considered bullish for the market. So if we somehow see a 25 basis point cut, of course, I do not expect that, but if that somehow happens, then that should be very bullish for the markets. But on the other hand, if we somehow see that 25 basis point hike, which once again means raising interest rates by 0.25%, then that would likely result in a short-term dump across the markets. But once again, it's extremely likely that we will just not see any change in interest rates today, which once again is the neutral outcome. But roughly around half an hour after the Fed's decision today, which is happening in a few hours from now, roughly half an hour after we get the new numbers, after we get the new interest rate decision from the Federal Reserve, there is of course the Jerome Powell press conference. And basically Jerome Powell is the chair of the Federal Reserve, and depending on what he says in that press conference, we could end up seeing the probabilities in these future Fed meetings change. And so basically all you need to know in regards to that is based on what Jerome Powell says in that press conference, we could end up seeing some bullish or bearish price action, which I will be updating over on my Twitter in real time. And so once again, if you want to get real-time updates as soon as things happen, make sure to follow me over on my Twitter, link down below in the description and in the pinned comment. But anyway, getting into the Bitcoin chart, and this right here is on the daily Bitcoin chart, and of course we still have this bearish divergence which is now active on the daily time frame. And so once again, as I've been saying over the last couple of days now, it's very likely that we're going to see either a large sideways consolidation or potentially a bit more of a pullback within the next few weeks. And so basically I would not be expecting a significant bullish move or bullish momentum, at least in the short term, simply based on this bearish divergence which is now active. But remember, it is still possible to play out a bit of a pullback or consolidation within a bullish trend, a larger bullish trend, before continuing that bullish trend later on. And as for support, right now the price of Bitcoin has been bouncing from this previous ascending line of resistance, which is currently acting as new support, sitting at around 40,300. But if we end up seeing a confirmed break back below 40.3k, then in that case we also have this ascending line of support sitting at around 37,500. And we should also expect quite a lot of support at around 38,000 based on previously a lot of resistance around around 38k, which once again, previous resistance usually flips into new support. And speaking of resistance levels, taking a look at the 6-hour time frame, as for short-term resistance right now, we should be looking at around 41.8k to 41.9k approximately acting as resistance. But if we end up seeing a confirmed breakout back above that level, then in that case, the next resistance to watch out for is sitting at around 43,000, and above that we have more resistance at around 44.2k to 44.3k. And as for support, once again, we have this line of support right here on the 8-hour time frame at around 40.3k, but if we break back below that line, we also have this level of support at around 39.4k, and below that level, once again, we have a lot more support closer towards around 38,000. And if you're zooming into the shorter term, looking at the 4-hour time frame, once again, as I've been warning about, since all the way back up here, we do now have an active bearish divergence here in the short term, resulting in a pullback. But due to the fact that this bearish divergence is only on the 4-hour time frame, it's possible that this bearish divergence could now be over, considering the RSI reached into oversold territories on the 4-hour time frame, and potentially soon we could end up seeing some higher lows begin to form here in the RSI, which could potentially mean the bearish divergence is over if the RSI begins trending back to the upside. But remember, this is just talking about the short-term bearish divergence on the 4-hour chart. Of course, we still have that larger bearish divergence on the daily chart, which is still active and likely going to play out over the next couple of weeks. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, just in the short term, we do have a lot of liquidation levels right at around 40.5k. And so basically, this means that it's very likely that sometime soon in the short term, the price of Bitcoin will likely go towards around 40.5k, once again, sometime soon in the short term. And if you want to take advantage of any volatility in the market, whether we're going up or down, you can use long positions if we're going up and short positions if we're going down to profit in either scenario. And personally, I trade over on Bybit, so I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit in the description down below and in the pinned comment. And in fact, if you use that link down below, you can claim up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video to make a Bybit account. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC over on Bybit, there is also Bitflex as another crypto exchange which does not require KYC. And in fact, if you use the link down below to make a Bitflex account and deposit $100 worth of crypto and make one trader over on Bitflex, you can get 10 USDT completely for free. And so if you're trading crypto anyway, or if you're preparing to take the next trade in the market, then make sure to set up ready to go with one of those accounts if you want to claim those extra bonuses. Once again, links down below. But anyway, getting into the Ethereum part of this video, this is on the daily time frame, and right now the price of ETH is still retesting this previous area of resistance, which is now acting as new support, sitting in between around 2.1k, going up towards around 2150. And just like Bitcoin on the daily time frame, of course, the price of ETH has also confirmed a bearish divergence on the daily time frame, as I've talked about over the last few days. And so once again, as I've said recently on the channel, I would not be expecting any significant bullish price action or bullish momentum, at least in the immediate short term here, because the most likely outcome over the next few weeks is most likely going to be either some choppy sideways price action, basically a large sideways consolidation, or potentially a bit more of a pullback, once again, within the next few weeks. But remember, this could all be occurring within the much larger bullish trend on the weekly chart, for example, which I talked more about in recent videos here on the channel. But if we're zooming into the 8-hour Bitcoin chart, we can take a look at these Fibonacci levels of support, which right now the price of ETH is running into this level of support at around 2150 to 2160 approximately. But if we see a confirmed break back below that level, once again, we could find some support at around 2.1k in this support zone right here. But basically, if we confirm a break back below 2.1k, then in that case, the next Fibonacci level of support to the downside is sitting at around 2020, and below that we have more support at around 1910 to 1920 approximately. And if you're zooming further into the short term, looking at the 2-hour time frame, right now the price of ETH is actually flashing a new signal, which is an immediate short-term bullish signal. Because first of all, as I've been warning about, since all the way back up here, we did have an active bearish divergence on the 2-hour chart, resulting in a short-term pullback. And obviously, this short-term pullback continued as the price ran into support, once again at around 2150, and also as the 2-hour RSI entered into oversold territories, meaning we have somewhat limited limited room to the downside, at least in the short term. But now what we can see here on the 2-hour chart is lower lows confirmed in the candle closes and higher lows now forming, and initially confirmed with this higher low right here in the RSI. And so obviously this is a bullish divergence now confirmed on the 2-hour chart, which means we could actually see a small pause from this pullback on the 2-hour chart. So once again, in the immediate short term, just on the 2-hour time frame, we're likely going to continue bouncing around in this range right here, which I said in my last video. Once again, this support is at around 2150, and this line of resistance is at around 2230 to 2240. And so due to this bullish divergence and the price running into support, once again, we could end up seeing a slight bullish relief, perhaps up towards this resistance just in the short term. Or at the very least, we're due to see some choppy sideways price action here in the short term. But once again, this is only on the 2-hour chart. And remember, we still have a bearish divergence on the daily chart. So for example, a move up towards this resistance on the 2-hour chart would look something like this. Obviously, nothing too significant. And as I said earlier, once again, we're due to see either some choppy sideways price action or potentially a bit more of a pullback within the next couple of weeks due to this larger bearish divergence. But either way, whether we are bullish, bearish, or simply chopping around sideways, you can make money in either of those scenarios by watching these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how to make money if the price is bullish or bearish using AI, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.